Thank you very much, and also thank you very much for the invitation to join this very exciting format. I would have loved to be there in person, but I guess we all have to cope with the current pandemic. But I think this is a great way to, regardless, connect people from across different countries to talk about innovative mobility. And as part of this roundtable, I'm very excited to be sharing ViaVan's thoughts, my thoughts on how microtransit or on-demand ride pooling is a part of the MaaS world, how it's a part of the mobility as a service puzzle. I want to talk about within the next few minutes how technology for microtransit can be used for a variety of different use cases to really make integrated mobility a reality and enhance the overall public transport offering. So if we think about public transport and public mobility, it really comes in all forms and shapes. What they all have in common is that they do replace private vehicle ownership. So I guess this is the mission that most mobility providers share. But whether it be a bus ride, a subway ride, or a bike or scooter ride, or simply an on-demand ride pooling journey, the overall public mobility offering becomes a lot more attractive the more diverse the modes are and the more choice passengers have to really pick the right mode for their specific use case. I could be going just grocery shopping and I don't mind sharing my ride with others. At other times, I'm really in a hurry and I want to take a private phone call, then I may not want to share my ride. But essentially, the more public mobility modes they have to choose from, the less likely they are actually to use their own private vehicle because they have so many different choices. And this is where ViaVan fits in. We really see ourselves as a piece of a puzzle, making the public mobility offering a lot more attractive by offering a mode on-demand ride pooling that sits somewhere between a bus and a taxi. So it is more comfortable than a bus ride because you have your own route, you determine the timing, but it's also, you have to share the ride with others and you have to walk to a virtual bus stop. So it's not really a taxi ride, but adding to the choice for passengers to choose from. And we've been doing this quite successfully in many, many different places. So we have projects now in over 100 different cities in over 20 different countries, where we work together with cities directly, public transport authorities or operators who are interested in running on-demand systems under their own brand, like the BBG in Berlin, but also many other great places that we will also see in a second. And at our core, our business is basically to provide technology to those partners. And what has been interesting also in the context of mobility as a service, that usually on-demand ride pooling has really been the first step towards an integrated mobility offering. Because usually the on-demand ride pooling service that we provide is one of the very first modes that are widely adopted, but that are also almost always only digitally booked. Hence, the partners had a platform where passengers were very actively using public mobility digitally. So this led us actually to a situation where ViaVan also developed into somewhat of a tech backbone for public mobility in that area, as our partners ask us to also enhance the use cases and the product portfolio. So coming from our core offering on-demand transit rides in urban, suburban, rural areas, we have now also projects that cater for school children. So we do have school transportation projects. We have transportation projects for paratransit or non-essential medical transport, and even corporate mobility, campus shuttles, and have even been looking into tolling, etc. So coming from this idea of enhancing public mobility overall, introducing on-demand transit, now using that platform to also really digitize most of the mobility offering a city can decide upon. So not only traditional public transport, but also these other transport sectors that I talked about. One good example is our project together with the BVG in Berlin, the Bergkönig project, which is the largest on-demand public transport project in the on-demand world, with over 1 million riders since we started in 2018. We just celebrated our second anniversary, and with over 150 vehicles, if we disregard the pandemic for a second. And in this case, we also wanted to make the Bergkönig to be included in the public mobility offering and really make booking as easy as possible to really make this mode as effective as possible. So what we did here is we followed a dual approach. For once, the Bergkönig has been integrated in the new MaaS app of BBG, the Yelby app, where it's fully integrated. We have APIs, we have connected our APIs so that riders do not need their own, they don't need a separate account, but if they're registered with the MaaS app, they can book and pay for the Bergkönig ride just as easily. However, because already quite a few people downloaded the Bergkönig app, the white label rider app for the on-demand service, we also enhanced that app with functionality. So within the Bergkönig app, we also show multimodal options. So what other public transport alternative you could also take instead taking a Bergkönig, and soon also intermodal options so that you can also book a travel chain with the Bergkönig and traditional public transport combined. Really, again, coming from the start, making public transport overall more attractive. And because the on-demand system Bergkönig is only one piece of the puzzle of public mobility, several goals have been already reached by now. So first of all, customer experience is improved as passengers are much more flexible in their journeys that are being offered. They can take a very customized Bergkönig rides, or as I said, they can connect it also with traditional modes of public transport. The overall system efficiency is being improved by also optimizing the use of mass transit. And it's also the next step on the roadmap to integrate autonomous and non-autonomous modalities. So if we think about that those Bergkönigs may not need to be driven by a human being maybe in the future, but because the drivers don't take any decisions themselves, and because the riders are already used to booking a ride on the smartphone, this is already the step towards autonomous mobility. So we as ViaVan see ourselves as really part of an integrated mobility world, being the tech backbone for on-demand rides, but also for many different other use cases our partners have in mind. And I am very excited to be also sharing the roundtable later with the colleagues also part of this panel to discuss ideas on mobility as a service. Thank you very much.